Good afternoon, everybody. I know that there's a lot of interest in this case. And I think anytime we have a horrific incident like this that's so unnecessary and so uncalled for and so easily avoidable, a situation where a routine traffic delay turns into a road rage, which then escalates into a tragic attempted murder, is sad. And I think it's a sad commentary on a lot of our society today that this is actually becoming part of our culture. Who would have thought years ago that we would even know what the term road rage meant? And today it's just part of the lexicon. It's part of how we talk, and we all know what it means. And we saw it unfold last night in Martin County in a horrific manner, in which a completely innocent driver trying to get out of traffic and to get home got into a road rage situation and escalated into where one shot at least was fired, perhaps two shots. The victim was struck once or twice in the head. We're still waiting to hear from the surgeons. He's in surgery as I speak. Once he was struck by the round or rounds, the vehicle traveled another approximately 300 yards and veered straight off I-95 at mile marker 96 and came to rest in some heavy underbrush. As we speak now, the victim is fighting for his life. He's in surgery. The thoughts and prayers of our agency go out to him and his family. And our goal this morning, as we continue working this fast-paced investigation, will be to determine who fired that round, where that person is, and to make an apprehension as soon as possible. And with that, I'd be glad to answer questions.
Sir, what happened last night? How did it begin? How did it happen? What were the circumstances around it?
Right. Well, sometime at approximately 10 o'clock, right at about mile marker 92, there was a heavy delay in traffic. There were several accidents. FHP can fill us in later, but there was heavy delays in traffic. And somewhere in there between 92 and 96 mile marker, our two drivers probably never knew each other. There's no reason to believe they knew each other. Got into some kind of a jockeying position. We call it road rage today. And during that situation, the one driver trying to get ahead of the other, maybe one tried to merge, the other one didn't want him in. Somewhere right up around 96 mile marker, the evidence is now, and witness testimony from the passenger in the victim vehicle, was that at least one, perhaps two rounds were fired by the other car, striking our victim at least once in the head.
Were they moving when he fired the shot, or were they stuck in traffic?
What it looks like to us, and we're relying very heavily now on our passenger, who we'll call the witness, we're relying on her testimony, was that they were in this big slowdown. They finally break out of the slowdown somewhere around the mile marker 96. They're up to expressway speeds when the firing occurred. So it didn't occur earlier as they were jockeying in the slower traffic. It occurs later as they break out. Really, the incident should have been over. It should have been done. They're now up at expressway speeds. Whatever happened in the slowdown was over. Responsible adults would just go on down the road. But in this case, because of grossly irresponsible behavior on the offender's part, he allowed it and caused it to escalate into a life or death situation.
He was shot in the side of the head.
The victim appears to have been hit at least once in the side of the head. And the reason I'm saying appears to is because of a fracturing bullet coming into the car. We're not sure yet, and the surgeon should help us this morning tell us, was it one or was it two rounds? It was at least one round, at least a sizable caliber. We don't know the caliber of the round, striking the victim in the side of the head.
Do you think that where do you think the shooter was in relation to the victim? Like, I'm trying to get at, was the shooter like firing through the passenger side of his car into the driver's side of the victim's car, or did the bullet pass by the female witness, I guess, and then strike the victim? Or
what it looks like to us from what the witness said was that you would have a driver northbound and another driver northbound. The one driver to the inside lane would have fired one round across his car into the driver's side of the victim vehicle. So we would have had an open passenger, probably an open passenger seat in the driver's vehicle of the offender car, going into making contact with the victim in the car right next to him, and then no injury whatsoever to the passenger.
Did the victim's vehicle suspect had the passenger window, or the driver's side window rolled up? So presumably the bullet struck through the glass, I guess?
We're, in the abundance of caution, rather than search the victim's vehicle, now we're doing a search warrant on the vehicle, making sure that we don't get into any trouble later as we look for further evidence. So whether or not the victim's vehicle had the window open is still up for investigation. We should know more about that towards the end of the day.
Sheriff, this seems like an incredibly, pardon the term, lucky shot. Who can make this kind of aim and fire at that rate of speed? Are we talking about someone who has military training?
You know, I can't speculate if the offender had military training. I will tell you that it could have just very well been a lucky shot. It's hard to tell. I think it was an intentional shot. Whether or not the driver suspect had extra training, it's impossible to know. We hope when we make an arrest that we'll know a little bit more about his shooting ability.
Where is the shooter at this time? What is your best guess?
We're asking the public to help us. We believe that in the 4 miles between mile marker 92 and mile marker 96, as this altercation played out, somebody would have seen something. There may be somebody out there with a video of it. There may be somebody who could give us a tag number. We don't have a tag number now. We have not identified the shooter, and so we're asking the public, help us in this case. If you were in that 4-mile traffic jam and you saw something, you saw kind of an older, beige, mid-sized American vehicle jockeying around and doing a road rage scenario, and you saw something, please call us. If you don't want to be identified, we will respect that, and we'll take any information you have anonymously.
Was there an argument between the two cars, or they were used jockeying position?
Relying on our only witness statement, there was no verbal interchange between the offender and the victim.
So is basically your guys' understanding of how this incident occurred based strictly on the female and the other pilot with the shooting victim?
We're basing our understanding of this case as we speak now with physical evidence and the testimony of the passenger in the victim vehicle.
What's the relationship between the passenger and the victim? Are they like boyfriend, girlfriend, or relative?
They're friends. All I know is that they're friends.
You mentioned that he was a minister?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't have any confirmation as to what his occupation is.
Do you know where they were coming from and going to at the time?
According to the witness, they were just coming into the Stuart area
From like
from West Palm Beach.
Like were they coming from a night out or?
Let me say this about what they were doing, where they were going, what the relationship is. As far as we're concerned, that right now is not the most important aspect. And it's really not even the most relevant. What they were doing together here in Martin County is irrelevant to us right now. What is relevant is, can we get a tag number of the offender car? Can we get a name of the offender? Not only do we think somebody in that traffic jam may have seen something that would help us, we believe there's a loved one out there who knows that their loved one, their husband, their son, their brother, has an anger problem, carries a gun, fits our basic description of a middle-aged white male with graying or white hair. Give us a call. That person needs help. This happened once, and it could happen again.
I'm guessing you've checked all the traffic cams in that area to see if you can spot his car?
We're working with anybody who would have digital information, specifically the Florida Highway Patrol, which they do have dash-mounted cameras. We're hoping that they were on at the time. We're working very closely. The FHP was enormously helpful last night, helped us shut down I-95. We apologize to all the people that were stuck, but we had to get evidence, and we could not risk losing evidence by opening the interstate prematurely.
Sheriff, is it possible that this person is still local in Martin County, armed, maybe ditched the car somewhere? What are we telling the general public in that area? There's quite a few homes back there.
The problem we have with finding our offender in this case is that I-95 runs, obviously, all the way up the state and out of the state, so we don't know where our offender was going or coming from, and that's why we so desperately need the public's help.
Did anyone spot the offender anywhere but 95? Did your office receive any reports that they may be in Martin County, St. Lucie County?
No. Where the offender was prior to the shooting, where the offender went after the shooting is still unknown. And that's what we're working so hard on today to establish.
Do you believe that he is still armed and dangerous?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the offender in this case is undoubtedly still armed and extremely dangerous. And if I could just take a second as we go through the facts, I would tell all the listening audience out there, this whole phenomenon with road rage is a point of personal responsibility. When you're driving a car, you have two options. Somebody's tailgating you, who's cut you off. Option one is to slow down and let it go. Option two is to engage, pay back the tailgating, pay back the brake check, and once you start that, the situation can easily get out of control. And so the best defense in this is if you find somebody who's aggressively driving near you, slow down, get into the slow lane, and go ahead and call the sheriff's office. We get these calls all the time, and we'll come right out.
Now, he said Concourse, Concord. You guys are talking about a Saturn.
Yeah, I think when we talk about the Concord vehicle or the Saturn vehicle, we're basically talking about the size of the vehicle, the fact that it's a mid-size American-made car is our best guess. These kind of situations happen fast. The passenger's doing the very best she can under a very horrific set of circumstances.
Any read on the weapon that was used that may help a family member identify the shooter?
No, unfortunately not. This happened very fast. I know one of the questions I got earlier was if or when we make an apprehension, what charges will the suspect be facing? I have Assistant State Attorney David Lusgard in here, and if you're interested, he may be able to share with you exactly what the suspect would be facing.
Yeah, David, what are we talking about here when, I mean, this goes beyond attempted murder, doesn't it?
Well, of course, it all depends. Every case is fact-driven, and wherever the investigation and evidence leads, I can certainly envision the very real possibility of attempted first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm. That, of course, is also attempted second-degree murder with a firearm. It just all depends on the evidence and the facts.
What facts does your office need to maybe add the additional road rage charges and things like that?
The additional road rage charges?
Road rage charges.
Well, certainly the eyewitness is important to us at this point. Of course, the victim himself, hopefully he will be able to communicate with us in the next couple of days, or communicate with law enforcement in the next couple of days. But everything is just fact-driven. As far as I'm concerned, if you're charged with attempted first-degree murder with a firearm or the second degree, the road rage issue, from my vantage point, just simply becomes a motive for the shooting.
And have you ever, your office covers a large region, have you ever seen or had to prosecute a case that was sort of this senseless with road rage?
I have personally not. I'm not sure if any of my colleagues up in the St. Lucie County or surrounding counties in the circuit have. Most of these road rage cases do not evolve into something as horrific as this. Most of them stay in the what I'll call a low felony range or misdemeanor range. Sure. Lustgarten, first name David. Common spelling David. Okay.
And Sheriff, what should people expect as far as on I-95, and maybe if you guys get tips, I mean, should people be ready that essentially, if you guys get a tip in the county, you're going to shut that area down, aren't you?
Right. What we'll be doing today is our helicopter will be up on the chance that it may be able to see something that we haven't seen from the ground at night. We also expect to have our dogs in the wooded area looking for evidence. Our detectives will be back out on the scene. And as far as tips, you know, in today's digital age, it's so easy to get us information. You can send us anonymous information to the Sheriff's Office webpage. You can contact us on Facebook we're on Twitter. Any way somebody out there wants to get in touch with us, please do it. If you saw something out there last night, this is a horrific crime. Help us to get a truly dangerous felon off the streets. And if you saw something, give us a call.
Sheriff, do you think this is isolated, or do you think this is a vigilante out there?
We have no reason to believe that this is part of a spree crime. We think this is an individual case of road rage gone completely out of control. I get the question, I've been getting the repeated question, does the public have to fear? I think the answer is that the public needs to be very careful and do what I said earlier. If somebody is aggressively driving around you, tailgating you, don't engage. Get out of the way, get into the slow lane, and give the sheriff's office a call.
Our records show that they're brother and sister.
The two people in the car? All right. Do you have any questions? We have our lead detective here also, lead detective sergeant.
Well, yeah, I did. I mean, I know you said it wasn't relevant to you guys necessarily where they were going to and from, but I'm just asking if you know where they were going to and coming from specifically.
We just know they said they were coming from the Palm Beach area and coming up to a meeting in Stuart.
A meeting in Stuart?
Yes.
Do you know who they were meeting with, or
No, sir.
was the meeting today, or reason why I asked is it seems pretty late last night for a meeting, just asking.
There was a meeting between them two, between those two, the passenger and the driver of the vehicle.
Were you able to do any kind of cursory examination of the pilot to see what was in there? Like, was there anything in plain view that might be out of the ordinary? Just asking.
No, we're going to be doing a search warrant on the vehicle today, so we'll be able to have more answers on that.
And I want to clarify something. I would not say that where they were going or where they were coming from is completely irrelevant. What I think I said was that the most relevant thing right now is that we determine who the offender was. Sometimes where a person's going, where they're coming from, can be very important as far as motive. In this case, it appears to us that we have two innocent people driving for whatever reason, whatever lawful reason, who were unfortunately drawn into a situation of extreme violence. And so that's what we're focusing on today. And where they were going, where they were coming from, what they were doing is relevant, but very, very small relevancy compared to the bigger question is, who is this crazy man who fired around at a vehicle traveling 70 miles an hour?
And their vehicle wasn't, just asking, the vehicle wasn't stolen?
No,
problems like that?
the victim vehicle appears to be completely legal.
No warrants on the victim or passenger?
Not that I,
No.
no. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry.
How far is the search area? Are you bringing in other counties on this, or?
We have all the resources we need today. Sometimes we will reach out to another agency if they have a dog that's trained in detecting firearms. So I think we have all the resources we need, but we're not afraid to ask for help.
They're going to be there today?
Yes.
Or are they out kind of walking around the scene? Or?
Yes. Right, we'll be out at the scene. Remember, it was very late. It was dark. We were working with wanting to get that road open for traffic, so we had a lot of pressure on us. Now we don't have that. Thank you all very much for coming. Anything you can do, any part of what I said, asking for leads is really very helpful. There's somebody out there can help us, knows what's going on.
Can you spell your name, ma'am?
First name Y-E-S-E-N.
Y-E-S?
Y-E-S-E-N-I-A. Last name C-A-R-D-E.
And, detective or detective?
Sergeant.
Well, she took Silvis's place.
Can't fill it.
Hers are bigger.